Mic check. Ooh, it's pretty loud. Um, let's move it back just a touch. How's that sound now? That's still pretty loud. Hold on. Getting a lot of reverb. Does that sound a little bit better? Maybe just a touch more there. Okay, cool. I think we're good. I think we're good. What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the GGBL. We got the draft here tonight. mute my mute my TV here, my live replay. So I actually went live on the GG9 channel by accident. I'm using the OBS stream software, and it's just, I don't know, it's just kind of funny that I had forgotten the need to get back over here with the correct stream key. So if you guys got the notification, yeah. So okay, so Christian Gamer got the noti. Just funny. All right, guys. Well, without further ado, we're just going to get into the draft. I don't truly have a ton of time, so we're just going to dive right in and get it done. You can see that in the left-hand corner, the draft is in 4 days. So we are going to see a couple of games simulated here in July, and I'm actually on Columbus's team because I have to go through when we simulate through. I have to make sure that the lineups are correct. So like on this day here against Iowa, we needed Janelle to be in the outfield. We needed Choi to be the designated hitter. I believe because, well, that's just how the lineup shakes out. So when one of them pitches, so here with Choi pitching against Seattle, losing 12-2, he had to be the DH. You can see that looks like Janelle got the day off there because he pitched a day before that. So they won 6-4. Janelle was he didn't hit that day apparently. So I have to go in and I have to make sure that I'm managing this properly. That way your fantasy output, your performance for each player is... Mike's still too loud. What the heck is that? How about that? Is that better? Port? It's just, I don't know. There just seems to be a little reverb going on here. It's been the same. It's been the same setup. I haven't touched the mic. Yeah, mic's better. Okay, all right. Yeah, I haven't touched it, so I don't know what's really going on with it. But anyway, so that's kind of what I have to do here for Columbus. I've got to like strictly manage them specifically because I got two-way players. Little goofy, but all right. So let's go ahead and simulate this through. And draft is in 2 days. We got a little win streak here for Columbus. Actually, I'm not even managing the output here, but we did get Janelle to have 2 hits. We got Choi with 2 hits. Double. Janelle pitched okay. 5 innings, 2 strikeouts. How about this one here for Choi? Rivera had an RBI, and Choi didn't play, apparently. Because he's pitching, I guess. I think it has to do with a fatigue thing. Like, they have to manage the fatigue. Like, guys that are, like, the 2 ways that they're pitching and they're hitting on the same day, their fatigue rating is so low, or their energy rating is so low, they can't play the next day. I think that's what's happening here. But another win, 8-6, 2 runs in the 9th inning. Minnesota came back just a little bit, but looks like we had Janelle with a double, RBI double, and then boy here, Choi, didn't play again. So, because look at the lineups here. You got Janelle and Choi, and then you got Janelle and Choi. So it just does come down to, I think, fatigue rating. You look at the number of at-bats, 250, 258, 327, 274, 257, so 328. Like they're getting a good amount of at-bats comparatively to the rest of their team. So I think we're still okay there. But all right, guys, so let's get into the draft at this point. So I will be taking control of the number 1 draft pick team, and that is going to be the Vancouver Mighty Beavers. Let's just save this up so we don't make any mistakes. And if you guys need a reminder of how the draft works, basically what we're going to do is we're going to make the number 1 pick for Vancouver, and then we're going to simulate. We're going to simulate until our next pick in round 2. We'll make the pick there. No, excuse me. I'm sorry. Let me backtrack here because I don't know what or how it's going to shake out. So we'll make the pick for Vancouver. I'll let you know who that CPU player is going to replace with our Patreon guy or our generational prospect, right? We'll watch the picks fly through. We'll get a good idea of who's going where. And then eventually what we'll have to do is we'll actually have to simulate the entire draft. And then from that point, we're just going to just do a slow scroll and see where your custom players were going to go. We'll do a poll inside of the live chat, and you guys get to determine like if there's a couple players that we kind of have a tiebreaker on, we're not sure where somebody's going to go. I'll show you the Excel file on my share screen, and then we'll kind of determine it as a community, like who's going to get drafted where. So let's go ahead and get into it, and we're going to sim to the draft. Yes, we want to get into the draft. Here we go. So again, let's just take a look. So we've got this guy, second baseman, Rex Murdoch, right? He's the number 1 rated player, but he's a second baseman. So let's say that the New Orleans Swing, I think that they have the number 2 pick. Let's say that they go Rex Murdoch here at number 2 pick, right? We have to look inside of our Excel sheets to make sure that we have a second baseman, right? And if we do, then that guy, that second baseman, our custom player, is going to take over Rex Murdoch. Same thing here with Brian Chavez, the catcher. If we have a catcher that's going to be coming into this draft class, whoever takes Brian Chavez, that's going to replace Brian Chavez. So hope that makes sense, but let's get into it, and we'll make that determination on how everything's going to shape out here. So all right, so let me go ahead and share with you guys the screen that I'm looking at here. Do a little screen cap. You're going to have to excuse me with my cough because I've been dealing with that for a couple weeks now. But let's go ahead and hide those email addresses there and make sure everybody's good here. Okay, all right. So here's what we got. We have our channel supporter player submissions. These are all of our patrons. Orange is 75A. You're going to be a 75 overall A potential player. Blue are the $10. Orange are 20. Blue is 10. Looks like that's all we had for this season, for season 3. We're going to keep track of who was drafted by who. That way I know how I'm going to create these guys. But we've got a couple 75As up here, like Benny Blanco, Clark Griffin, Tyson Wright, Yuli Ibanez. So obviously, by comparison, these guys are the best players compared to the blue guys, right? So if we have a tiebreaker of some sort, like let's say we got Silvarius Barreto, he's a catcher, and we have Gabriel Oaks, who's also a catcher. So we have a catcher taken off the board. we got to go with the best guy, right? You're not going to take a 70B, a 70 overall B potential player over a 75A when they're standing there in the face, right? You got to take that guy. But we also have another thing to consider here too, which is the channel points submissions, which I should actually rename this, but these were given as a gift to some people. This actually should be gift for 70B. So all these guys were given as a Christmas gift inside of Discord. If you guys have not joined my Discord, please consider doing that, because I do these things every so often. I just hand out prospects for free, or I go, I have little questions in there. You can win channel points, win prospects. Very interactive community there in Discord. So these guys were player submissions. They're going to be 70 Bs, so they're just as equal to these guys in blue. And then we have the fantasy challenge winners for player submissions. These guys can either elect to be a 25-year-old player who comes in immediately to a roster the next year as an international prospect. They're a little older, so they can just come in, step right in, and play that year. Or you can be a 21-year-old player who's got 4 less years to grow, and he's a 70 overall A, rather than coming in as a 75 international player, if that makes sense. So obviously in 4 years, that draft class player is going to be a lot better than the international player, you would think, you would hope. So these guys were 70A, and here's your list right here. So by comparison, if you wanted to look and compare like these guys here for channel point or fantasy challenge winners, those guys are going to be better than your 70Bs because, simply put, because of the potential rating. Okay, so if that makes sense. But all that out of the way, kind of draft setup, if you will, we are going to go ahead and get started and make the pick. And I think it's just pretty obvious that for Vancouver, we're going to be taking a shortstop, Benny the Jet Rodriguez. Benny the Jet Rodriguez. He was our generational draft class prospect. Last season was Noah Pinkard going over to the Atlanta Sting. And that guy was won because, well, Rico Ramos, congratulations, because you won that guy through the Fantasy Challenge last season in Season 2 of the Playoff Fantasy Challenge. So that's always the toughest one, and you won it, so you get the rights to be drafted first, and that is who we are going to take. Benny the Jet Rodriguez being taken by Vancouver. So I'm just going to go ahead and make that pick and start up the draft. And technically you could take Rex Murdoch here because he's a middle infielder, but I'm going to stick with positional specificity here, and we're just going to take Ricky Keller. Okay, we're going to take Ricky Keller. Let's make sure that actually we don't have any hot cold zones or anything, but we'll take Ricky Keller. It's a reach, but he's going to be replaced by Benny the Jet Rodriguez. Technically, I guess you could take an outfielder here just to make it fair, because he does list Benny as a shortstop outfielder. I think as far as like a ranking goes, I think this would probably be the most realistic. So let's do that. Let's take Andreas Ojeda, okay, for being replaced as Benny the Jet Rodriguez. So we'll do that, and then we'll see who New Orleans takes. That's just how this draft is going to work, guys. It's really the best way that I can make it fair is see who the CPU is going to draft and then go from there. And always with the first 2 to 3 picks, we have to do this animation here. So this is going to be Robert Cutler. So a starting pitcher that was fairly ranked pretty low. They could have got this guy in the 2nd round, okay? That's crazy. So we're going to have to go look now in our screen capture. We got to look for a starting pitcher. Starting pitcher across our custom prospect list. And it looks like we've got some options here. We've got Yuli Ibanez, who is 5'8", so he's a small guy. Go with Clark Griffin, 6'3", and those are really our 2 best pitchers that we could take from here. Clark Griffin or Yuli Ibanez. And I personally, I like to go with the size aspect here. He's velocity control. He's got a four-seam fastball, a cutter, a sinker, and a splitter. Pretty good mix right there. But then if you look at Yuli Ibanez, he's a left-hander who's 5'8" from Spain. He's more of a velocity break guy, so not a lot of control. But he does have a four-seamer, a two-seamer, a slider, and a circle change. So pretty standard mix. He does throw a submarine motion. I know who I would prefer. I'd probably prefer the big guy, Clark Griffin, but I'm anxious to see what kind of you guys are saying here in the chat. I'm anxious to see what you guys are saying here in the chat. Support says Clark Griffin. Sports Gaming Josh says Clark Griffin. I think out of the 5 people, I already like 2 votes. I've got a vote here as well. I think we'll just do Clark Griffin. Yep. So sounds good. Sounds good to me. So Clark Griffin will be drafted by New Orleans. And we're going to move on. We will go ahead and move on. So Clark Griffin, that's going to be the pick here to replace Robert Cutler. All right, moving on here to pick number 3. This is to the Philadelphia Flight, who are likely going to be relocated. They're one of the worst teams in the GGBL again this season. And they're going to take catcher Brian Chavez. So who are our catchers that are available? And I kind of covered a few of those guys here earlier. But we've got Silverias Barreto. I think I'm pronouncing that right. Silverias Barreto from Portugal. Catcher, third baseman. We've also got no catchers here for the 70Bs. And we have a 70A Fredington Grand III as a catcher. So I think that one's pretty obvious here too. I think we got to go with Silverias Barreto, and we'll just make that pick right there. So Philly's going to take Silverias Barreto. Next up, I'm just going to make that executive decision there. Okay, so next up we've got the Chicago Breeze. These are going to be flying off the board here, but again, we'll kind of make up for that lost time in a little bit. But we've got another pitcher, Brian Cavado, and I think that would probably have to be Yuli Ibanez. Draft rank number 1, 75A. He's the best pitcher on the board as far as rating and potential goes, so I'm going to make that choice right there. It's going to be Yuli Ibanez. And once we start getting into more of the tiebreakers or not being able to know, like make a decision on my own, then we'll have you guys get involved here. But there's Rex Murdoch here, the second baseman. Looks like we've got Tyson Wright. Tyson Wright at second base. He's a 75A. I'm going to share my screen here for you guys. See what he's bringing to the table. And just because we're flying here doesn't mean we're losing ground. But we got Tyson Wright, second base, third base. He's a switch hitter. Apparently he throws left-handed. That'll have to be fixed because we can't have the left-handed. They're not going to let him play. He's a 5'11" player, contact power, pure hitter. And let's see if he's got any sort of backstory. Nope, no backstory. Okay, so Tyson Wright. That will be the pick here for the Wisconsin Maples. And then we're going to move on to the next pick here. That will be another starting pitcher here for Nashville. They're going to take Salomon. Salomon Hayward. That's interesting. Now, this one I'm going to need your guys' help. I'm going to need your help on this one because we got a ton of pitchers to consider that are kind of in the same window, if you will. Here we go. I don't know if you guys can see this really well, but we got a couple guys to consider here. We got Hal Richards III, starting pitcher, left-hander. He's in the vault, apparently, so I'd have to download him. He's a control break guy. Four-seam fastball, running fastball, slider, and slurve. He's got a little stuff, right? So that's a 70B. We've also got a bunch of pitchers here to consider, too. Constant Bouwmeester, Onyebuchi Ijarika. He's a Nigerian prince, apparently. That's what I was told. He's a Nigerian prince. Onyebuchi Ijarika. Starting pitcher from Nigeria, I believe. Let's take a look at where he's from. Yes, Nigeria. He's 6'6", 220, left-hander. He's huge. We've also got Cooley Mack, starting pitcher as well, in the vault. He's 6'7", also 70B. Now, something also to consider, we do have no pitchers here for 70A Fantasy Challenge winners. So really, we've got a couple choices here for 70B for Nashville's pitching staff. We either can go with Hal Richards, Constant Bouwmeester, Onyebuchi Ijarika, or Cooley Mack. And I think probably you guys are all going to be going with Onyebuchi Ijarika. That's going to be my guess. I haven't even looked at the live chat yet, but here we go. What do we have? No, there's not much chatter here. Okay, I get it. The draft process is kind of boring. I get it, but you know, I got to be transparent on where everybody's going. So, looks like the Nigerian prince is that's where he's going to go here to Nashville. War Thunder says Onyebuchi. Sports Gaming Josh says Nigerian prince. Okay, all right. We'll go with that. We'll go with that. Nashville for Onyebuchi Ijarika. All right, who's up next? We got Ray Guzman, another starting pitcher here for Minnesota. We have a run of pitchers, so we got to determine Minnesota, Pittsburgh, and Boston. So let's run it that way. So we'll exhaust all the pitchers next, and we'll move on. So again, Minnesota, Pittsburgh, and Boston. Minnesota, Pittsburgh, Boston. Let's see what we got here. Screen capture. Minnesota, Pittsburgh, and Boston. So again, we got Hal Richards, 70B. We got Constant Bouwmeester and Cooley Mack. So those three guys, they'll come off the board since we don't have any pitchers here available for the Fantasy Challenge winners. So I think with a guy like Hal Richards at 70B, I don't know how tall he is or what he's bringing to the table. So that might count against him because I don't have any details here. But we got Bouwmeester and Cooley Mack. Let's see, the 6'7" and then a 5'11" guy. I think for Minnesota, if we can just get over here, Minnesota needs a guy that's going to be a presence on the mound. And I think he's going to go Cooley Mack. We apparently got 4 minutes on the clock here, so we can kind of calm this MLB The Show graphic down a little bit. So I think Cooley Mack will be Minnesota. Big Mac in Minnesota. Yeah, I like that. We got Constant Bouwmeester. And then we've got Pittsburgh on the board here. Let's go Hal Richards for Pittsburgh. And then we'll do Boston for Constant Bouwmeester. Okay? Sound good? All right. So our starting pitchers are off the board now. All of our starting pitchers are off the board. Let's get back to our screen here. Okay, round number 1. Pitchers are done. So the next starting pitchers that come off, like for Michigan, they decided to go with Kevin Macias. Kevin Macias stays as Kevin Macias. Carmen Chacon stays as Carmen Chacon. So what do we got here for Atlanta? What did they take? They took an outfielder here, David Booker. We do have some outfielders to choose from, and it looks like I'm gonna give you guys the option here because there is a little split that I'd like to have you guys break that tie. I'd like to have you guys break this tie here a little bit. So Atlanta's taken an outfielder. The outfielders that we have available here are Crawfish McGee. He's from Louisiana. He's 6'5", 225, contact speed type of a player. Okay, he's a 75A. You've also got Banks Stacy Hayward, who's a 70B, but I think I'm throwing him out right now because we have another outfielder here, Brian Tierney, who's a 70A. So I think it's going to be between Tierney and Crawfish McGee. So post it there in the live chat if you could. Who you guys prefer for Atlanta? Brian Tierney or Crawfish McGee? Remember, 75A for McGee, 70A for Brian Tierney. Curious to see what you guys say for that. Looks like Portugal's saying Crawfish. Sports Gaming Josh is saying Crawfish as well. Okay, so Crawfish McGee is basically the guy. Unanimous. Yep, so the next outfielder that gets taken here, we're going to have that be Brian Tierney, and it looks like that's going to be to Phoenix. So Phoenix for Brian Tierney. And I think we skipped one guy here for, there he is. So for San Francisco, we have a catcher. And a couple of decisions there for San Francisco as well. Two choices, actually. Two choices for the chat to determine. Freddington Grand, the third, catcher, first baseman, 70A. This guy is from Great Britain. He's a switch hitter, 6'5", power fielding. So do we believe that they need a power fielding type of player? That's what you're getting with Freddington Grand III. If you wanted to go the patron route, which is 70B. If you want to go to the patron route, 70B. You go with Gabriel Oaks from Germany. So they're getting, either way, they're going to get an international type of player here. So again, he's also power fielding, but he's 6'5", 218. So it really doesn't matter at this point. I think at this point, maybe you just go with the potential. They're both 70 overalls, but I think Freddington Grand is probably the pick. But I'm curious to see what you guys think in the chat. What do you guys think here? We've got Christian Gamer saying McGee. War Thunder says McGee. Oh, that was earlier, right? We have Oaks. It's either got to be Oaks or Freddington Grand. Oaks or Grand? Who do we got? We got two votes. We got Gabe for War Thunder. We got Freddington for... It's kind of a split vote. I think you go with the potential. I'll be the tiebreaker here. We're going to go with Freddington Grand to San Fran. So he'll be the tiebreaker there. All right. So let's figure out the next catcher then. That's up on the board, if there is anybody here. Because that next catcher... Where are we at here? Jeez, oh Pete's. Okay, so the next catcher... That will be... It looks like Seattle. Will Bryant. Catcher. Going to Seattle. That will be Gabriel Oaks from Germany. Okay. So he's also the power fielding guy. And I think at this point we can just go ahead and simulate the rest of the draft. And did I see somebody named Woody Pokey? did I read that right? There was a guy. Somebody said there's like a no way. No way! No, that's ridiculous! No way, dude! Dude, come on. Come on. Oh my god. Oh my god. And of course he's drafted by the Beavers. Okay. Yes, we have to keep him as he is. There's no way we're changing that. Round 6, there's no one. I'm trying to keep the mic on the DL here, man. I'm sorry about the mic, guys. I can't figure out what's wrong with it, really. I haven't changed anything. Holy crap, dude. Oh my god, that's great. Woody Pokey? Come on, no way. His parents absolutely hated him. That's insanity though, dude. There is you can't make these players. You can't make a custom draft class. It's impossible. You can't do it. That's a CPU generated guy. Game knew what they were doing. Had to have. Woody Pokey. Oh my. That's insanity, dude. Oh my god. Okay, all right, let's move on here. Let's move on. All right, so we made our pick here for San Fran. I believe that was the last one. We looked for some catchers coming off the board after San Francisco, and it looks like the only one that was coming off was Will Bryant for Seattle. So they did get this player, Gabriel Oakes. We just talked about him from Germany, 6'5", power fielding player. He's a 70B, so that's going to be Gabriel Oakes. And we're going to pick ourselves back up here with Phoenix. They took an outfielder, which was Brian Tierney, so we looked up the next best outfielder. He's a 70A. So now we're here at the next outfielder, which is for Miami, Albert McDaniel. And honestly, the only player that would be available for them, actually they got two. They have two players available for them. They're both going to be 70Bs. So I will show you that here, and we'll make a decision. So we've got Baldrick Raynell from Colorado, 6'1", switch hitter, throws left-handed, speed, fielding. So he's a defensive wizard. So he's not going to bring much offense to the mix for Miami. Do they need that type of player? Not sure. Let's see what Banks Stacy Hayward is going to bring to the table. He is... Oh, we got an international submission here, 72. I can't do the math on that, but he is a right-handed hitter, right-handed thrower, contact fielding. So you can do a little bit of both. He's a little bit more well-balanced, but they're both 70Bs. So I'm going to leave it up to you guys. Who do you think they should? Who do you think this should be? Banks Stacy Hayward or Baldrick Raynell? What do you got? What do you got for me here? Baldrick Raynell. Take it to the bank. Stacy Hayward. Okay. All right. Seems like that was pretty unanimous there. All right. So we've got Miami for Banks Stacy Hayward. Okay. Next, let's find the next outfielder here. And it looks like that's going to be Houston. So the very next outfielder, that will have to be Baldrick Raynell. That's the next best outfielder, actually. That'll do it for our outfielders, too, by the way. There are no more outfielders to be chosen. We already figured out Boston's pitcher. That was Constant Bowmeister. Second baseman, Louis Doe for New York. Do we have any second basemen on our lists? We do have a shortstop here, Javier Andino, shortstop, second baseman. Can he play? He has no other secondary position, so that cannot be Javier Andino. Oops. What about over here? Oh, yep, here we go. Zaza Whedon Baker. That's who that's going to be here. Draft class 70A, Zaza Whedon Baker. Second baseman. Again, does not play any other secondary position, so it makes perfect sense to me. We've only got a right-handed, or a reliever here, Caleb Bush, available for the gifted players, and no second baseman available here in our Patreon list. So it looks like this is going to be it. So this is going to be New York's pick, Zaza Whedon Baker. Let's do a little preview on him. What is he bringing to the table? He is a right-handed hitter, right-handed thrower, left-handed bat. He's from Detroit, 5'11", contact fielding, Mr. Smooth. I like that type of player. It's kind of like me a little bit. High contact, good fielding. So Zaza Whedon Baker is going to be the guy. Let's move on to our next spot here. We've got a third baseman, Francesco Carvajal. Right? Did I pronounce that correctly? Francesco Carvajal. I used to be able to pronounce that. I look at that and I'm like, yeah, I knew how to say that at one point. Third baseman. Can he play any other secondary positions? Nope. Secondary position is unknown. So he's just not scouted very highly. Do we have any third baseman? We have one third baseman. One third baseman. It is Benny Blanco from New York. Benny Blanco, third baseman, first baseman, and that's it, man. We don't have any other third baseman here. We got pitchers. We've got some first baseman here, a shortstop. There's Caleb Callaway. It's going to be Benny Blanco going to San Antonio. That's a big pickup for them. That's a very good value right there for San Antonio. Getting a guy like this. He's a contact power, so he's a pure hitter. They need the offense. Their pitching is very, very good. But Benny Blanco is going to be the guy here. Outfielders, we're done with our outfielders. We don't need that. Steven Escalona is another outfielder. We don't need that. We're done with the outfielders. What we're looking for first basemen, shortstops, and pitchers. Namely, like relievers. So Kevin Macias. We need a reliever. We need relievers at this point. Another outfielder here. Second baseman, John Sable for Washington. We do not have any other second baseman left. Starting pitcher. Catcher, we already did that one. Outfielder. Catcher. We're exhausted on the catchers. Starting pitcher. Willie Pena. Look at the good boys. We got some pretty good rank right there. Brian Vigil for Colorado. What? Was that correct? Was that a starting pitcher? Okay. We're looking for relievers or closers. Looks like we got one here. Colorado, Derek Kang. So I think we do have some closers that are available. We've got Roddy Creed, 6 foot tall, 180 pounds, closer, reliever, right-hander. We've also got Caleb Bush, who's a reliever, but I'm lenient here. He's a reliever. I think I'll just go ahead and allow that. But no closers, no relievers here for the Fantasy Challenge winners. So it could either be Caleb Bush here to Colorado, 70B, or Roddy Creed, 70B. So I'm anxious to see what you guys will say there in the chat. Roddy Creed or Caleb Bush? Roddy Creed or Caleb Bush? Port says Roddy Creed. Sports Gaming Josh says Roddy Creed. He's a Colorado guy. So I think we'll just go ahead and do that for him. He's a Colorado man. All right, so the next reliever that we find, which will be Pittsburgh. Perfect. That'll solve that up for us. That is going to be Caleb Busch. Caleb Busch getting taken by the Pittsburgh Hammers. So let's get a little update here again, guys. So our gifts and channel points, guys, these are all taken up. No more. Boston, Nashville, Miami, Pittsburgh, Minnesota. They got these guys. And the only thing that we have left to do for our patrons is a shortstop, Javier Andino. So we got to find a home for Javier Andino from Puerto Rico, 6'4". This is going to be a steal for any team that's able to find a shortstop at this point for this guy, Javier Andino, in the competitive balance round or round 2. That's an absolute steal for the draft. So we can go ahead and close out of this one. And then we're looking for first baseman. We got a big run of first baseman here, and then the next best shortstop will be Caleb Callaway. So if you don't get Javier Andino, it's going to be Caleb Callaway for the next best shortstop. So let's figure out where Andino is going to head to. How about we do that? We'll do Andino, and then we'll do Caleb Callaway here next. And then we also got to be having our eyes being looking out for a first baseman here. So no competitive balance round, guys. Philly got a run on closers and relievers. Another outfielder here. Man, a lot of pitching. A lot of pitching. I think basically what's happening is that the CPU understands like the GGBL needs pitching. So we got a huge run on these guys. There he is. So Jesus Vesperas, shortstop, 58th ranked. He's going to be replaced with Javier Andino. Kansas City gets a huge boost with this guy. 75A, Javier Andino, going to the Kansas City Monarchs. That's a huge get right there. Seattle's going to go reliever. It looks like Richmond's going to go pitcher. Catcher here for Colorado. More pitching. Outfielders, catchers, pitching. First base, there's our first one. San Francisco. First base for San Fran. Who are we going to go with for San Fran? That's a huge question for them. Our patron guys are done, by the way. So San Antonio, New Orleans, Wisconsin, Seattle, Colorado, Pittsburgh, Chicago, Philly, Houston, KC, and Atlanta all got themselves a Patreon player. Looks like Richmond's going to be left with nobody, no patrons. I feel bad about that because, man, we've had a couple seasons now where we haven't gotten a patron outside of, or like a custom player. You know, outside of season 1 we got one, but haven't gotten one since. So it looks like we could either go with Grant Warlock, Abraham Price, or Nick Vandenboom. Personally, I just like the name Nick Vandenboom, but let's see what we're bringing here to the table. So we got a 6'7" contact power, 6'4" power fielding, 6'3" contact power, and that's Vandenboom from Wisconsin. Contact power. Grant Warlock is the big guy, 6'7" contact power. What are you guys thinking here? You want to go with the guy that's in between both first basemen here, Abraham Price? Or you want to go Grant Warlock, who's the big dude from Texas, 6'7", or Nick Vandenboom for the name? He's 6'3" contact power. A little small for first baseman. Yeah. First baseman, I think of like, Freddie Freeman. I think of Mark McGwire. So, bigger dudes. I'm curious. What are you guys thinking here? Let's see what the chat is saying here. I like it. He's like an orc. Grant Warlock. Let's go San Fran, adding another custom. So we got 2 votes for Warlock. And Sports Gaming Josh also says Grant Warlock. So it looks like Warlock is going to be on San Fran. So San Francisco's got 2 custom players now by the looks of it. Let's find our next shortstop or first baseman. There you go. Carolina, D'Angelo Green. I'm not going to give them Nick Vandenboom, okay? Because I like Nick Vandenboom. I think we're just going to go with Abraham Price. There's 70 A's. So we'll go with that. And let's see who we got next. We got shortstop for Seattle. That's going to be Caleb Callaway. So Seattle has gotten 2 custom players. And that's our last shortstop. Which is kind of funny because Ricky Keller might turn out to be a good player. Because we highlighted him at the very beginning of our draft. We used him as an example. Vancouver, we were going to take this guy. We were going to take this guy for Vancouver. So it's going to be interesting to see what kind of storyline that this brings out. The fact that Vancouver was going to take him because Benny the Jet is a shortstop, but we elected to go with, perhaps, the better ranked player, which I feel like makes sense for the draft, makes it a little bit more fair. But yeah, good addition there for Seattle. So they got a good catcher, and they got themselves a good shortstop. So that's huge. So our last player up on the board is first baseman Nick Vandenboom. So we got to find a home for Nick Vandenboom. Where is he going to head out here to? We need a first baseman, guys. Where's he going to go? First base, first base, first base. Where are you? First baseman. We need one more guy. Oh! Just a couple players after us or before us. Ugh. Richmond, that would have been huge for us. But Omar Anaya, first baseman, will be replaced with Nick Vandenboom going to San Diego. San Diego. The Gauchos. So guys, that's it for the draft, really. I mean, we're all done. I think in review, let's just open these. Let's open these back up here, and let's just do a little analysis here. Who do we think won the draft? Pittsburgh had a pretty decent one, although relievers are kind of a dime a dozen. I know they had 2 picks. They had Hal Richards, a pitcher, and they had the reliever. So I guess Pittsburgh's kind of out of the running there for me. Seattle had 2 draft picks. They had the catcher, the power fielding catcher, plus they had the shortstop here, Caleb Callaway. Those are some good additions there. 70A for Caleb Callaway. San Francisco had a pretty good draft too. 70A catcher and Grant Warlock, a 70A first baseman. That's big time. Yeah, okay. I thought maybe they had a Patreon guy, but no, they did not. Wisconsin only had 1 pick. Colorado, I feel like, only had the 1 pick. Chicago, Philly. Did Philly have 2? Did Philly have 2 picks? They had the 1. Okay. But Philly got themselves a nice player here, too. Silverías Barreto. KC, though, I feel, even though they had the 1 draft pick, Kansas City, just watch out for this guy. Switch hitting shortstop, Javier Andino. Watch out for that dude. From Puerto Rico as well. That's a big addition, especially with where they were in the draft. That's going to pay some dividends for them, too. Especially, like, if you just look at, like, for the show, for these rankings. Who did Kansas City take? Here, they had the 23rd pick. They got a 24th rated player for the league in Aiden Mize. So to think that just they got a CPU generated guy here, Aiden Mize, and then back that up with a 75A at 61st overall, that's gonna pay dividends for them, I think, big time. Atlanta, they had 1 pick. Yep. I think, in all honesty, I think San Francisco had the best draft. I think between Kansas City, Seattle, and San Francisco, those teams had the best draft. Kansas City, San Francisco with these 2 guys. Warlock and Grand the third. And then you had Seattle there with the shortstop and the catcher. Right? They had a good draft. 2 prospects, 2 Patreon guys. Well, 2 customs. And then, of course, just Kansas City just getting their CPU pitcher, and then this guy here, Javier Andino. I think that they're up there, definitely. So, anxious to hear what you guys thought about the draft. I know it's a little bit lackluster here. Not a lot of people in the stream, but it is what it is. So, there's not really another good way to do it. You know, I just can't think of a way to make it fair. The process, I can't think of a way to make it fair. If a team auto drafts and takes a catcher, and then we're replacing him with a stud outfielder, I don't think that's very fair. I don't think it makes sense. So I think doing it this way, allowing the CPU to determine what that team needs to fill those needs, you know, it just adds a little extra layer of the randomness, right? Especially in baseball drafts, like quote unquote Jesus Vesperas, he's turning into Javier Andino, but he might be the second coming. Like, you know, other teams just missed on him. You know, Kansas City, they found him, a diamond in the rough. They found him, right? So let's go ahead and exit the draft, and let's now get to a little all-star preview, because that's what's going to be on tap here tonight at 9 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. We'll do a little all-star festivities. We'll have the home run derby. We'll have channel points at stake. We might have some custom prospects for Season 4 at stake as well. We'll also be looking at some trade prep, see what teams are in, what teams are out. When we look at the standings, I can already pretty much tell you that the Philadelphia Flight are out, the Swing are out. Are they going to be sellers again for the second straight season? I would hope not. The deal's got to really be, it's got to be there to make them better for the next few seasons, because I feel like they're just kind of the farm teams for the GGBL. Give us all your talent, and you just continue to suck. I want them to be better. I want them to improve. So I'm thinking my goal here for them is to kind of be a little bit more picky about the players that they trade away. But it looks like the Blue Sox might be out. Like, they're only 6 games back the wild card, but I think they might be out. They might have to trade some pieces away. Let's take a look at the AL. We got the Jacks, who are really disappointing. They've lost 5 in a row. Mallards are back on the come up with 6 wins in a row, but again, you know, 10 games back of the wild card, that might be a lost cause. 14 games above below 500, I should say. The Nuggets are 8 games back. They might want to consider making a move. They're 7.5 back. So really, do they want to make a move or not, or trade? Coyotes have won 3 in a row. They're 8 games below 500. So it's going to be interesting to see like what we determine, what we talk about as a community. Who's going to be buyers? Who's going to be sellers? That'll be all after the All-Star festivities are done. So let's take a look real quick here at what our rosters are pretty much going to look like here. We've got Hoberman at third. Jeremy Floyd, he rakes, man. And I think you guys have seen this by now in gameplay. The dude just continues to rake. You got KAJ at first, Joe Show in left, Giovanni Ortiz catching. Joey Warren looks like he's going to be the starting pitcher here. For the NL squad, you got Buddy Kidd in center field, who's having an insano season. Daniel Lederman's having a great season too. Not a lot of people took him in fantasy. I thought about it. He was pretty cheap, and he's just raking. He's hitting the ball. He's hitting the cover off the ball. Then you got Bobby Madsen, the representative out there for Atlanta. Joey Warren 8-2. It was kind of crazy, but I mean, look at this. Look at the statistics, right? He's got 5,000 more votes than the 11-1 James Monroe. Monroe's got 1 more strikeout, but the WHIP and the ERA, those belong to Joey Warren. So that's just kind of interesting there. I do want to look real quick at KAJ's numbers here. 28 home runs. So he's going to be in the home run derby, I believe. 289. But look at what Lederman's doing, guys. 303 batting average, 12 bombs. Look, I mean, Julian Reyes, he looks like he's outperforming Daniel Lederman. But I think it's the West Coast bias, man. He's not getting a lot of love right now. If anything, he's got 10 RBIs more. The batting average is better. He's got more at bats. I'd probably be giving it there to Julian Reyes. But let's take a look at the AL side. We've got a couple familiar names here. We've got Cloutier, we've got Karev, Mazza, Choi, but a lot of players that you might hear of in passing, right? Joe Warren, third baseman. He hits well for Las Vegas, but you don't hear a lot about him. CPU guy. Adam Bird, CPU guy, but he's having a great season. Then Paul Moore. It's been kind of a grinder these first 2 seasons, but now he's finding a groove here this year. And Alejandro Cairo, I believe that guy is a rookie. I believe he's a rookie. I'm curious. No, he's not. He's actually pretty good. He's played 60 games last year, was a part-time player, and now he's taking a job, making an all-star appearance here. 335 for this dude. Wow, 16 home runs. Pretty good for Alejandro Cairo, honestly. We'll take a look here real quick at Paul Moore's numbers. I'm curious what he's doing here. Center fielder, 338. Dude's killing it. Look at those attributes. Somehow that is good enough for 338. It's the stolen bases too. 26 stolen bases. It's nasty. This guy's pretty good. But you guys see what I mean here. He's kind of grinded his way. You know, he's been solid, but in gameplay he doesn't ever do too much. But look at what he's done. 34, 32 stolen bases. Pretty consistent in the home runs and the doubles and the triples. Like he's been a solid little player. But at 28 years old, I don't think he's ever made an all-star game. So this is kind of his breakout season. They always talk about like your age 28 season in baseball is like the year, you know. You're going to finally break out if you've been grinding away, you know. 22, 23, you're just bursting out of the scene. You're going to be an all-star every year. But this guy, he's a C potential player, kind of grinded through, and man, he's killing it this year. Killing it this year. But that's all I got for you guys right now. We'll do I'm seeing some Reapers chat for right now. Oh yeah, the Reapers. What happened? They've lost 8 games in a row. Meanwhile, the Cardinals have won 8 games in a row. Oof. They're 45-45. Dude, what is that? Are they gonna sell? Are they gonna buy? They could buy. They could start shifting some things around. Terry Haas 285. Oh my. Oh, that's where it is. That's where it is. Salvatore's hitting 225. Ouch. Not a lot of pop coming from Perez. 3 home runs. He's not even on pace to meet what he did with Phoenix and even Iowa last year. Nick Drake, 197 at-bats. He's kind of giving his at-bats away to Giuseppe. Bo Callaway's kind of struggling there a little bit, 269 home runs. And Dino's got 318 with 12. If anything, he might be needing to move up. But yeah, dude, like the Reapers are their offense is just not really cutting it right now. Oof. Pitching rotation, Cora's been not good. 2-8. Less than a strikeout per inning pitched. Mid-4s, very extremely high whip. Harvey Kidd's been bad at a 4.63. As a number 2 guy, you got to be better than that. Strongman's been their best pitcher. 7-6, 3.49. Ouch. Cozart 6.3. Oh my God. Like nothing's working for them. Killian Graham's been solid, but he's had 7 blown saves. So literally, everything that could go wrong for Iowa seems like it's going wrong for them this year. 7 blown saves. It's the most he's ever had. And we're only halfway through the year. Wow. All right, guys. Well, that's it. I'll see you guys later on tonight. We will get into Home Run Derby. Might as well just sim this too. Might as well sim it and preview Home Run Derby. So we're not going to play at that stadium. We'll determine what stadium we're going to be at. As a community, we'll vote. I'll give you some options. So if you tune in, we'll figure that out. But KJ, 28 home runs. He does lead the way. He will be the first seed. You got Mazza. You got Stoitz. Joe Warren's got 23. Buddy Kidd, and look at Cullen Ward. Look at the Mighty Beavers. Got 2 home run derby participants. Bird and Ariano. So out of the list, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4. Half of the squad here for the home run derby are custom players. Cullen Ward, Buddy Kidd, Mazza, and KAJ. The other 4, CPU guys. Whoop. Yep, there we go. Stoitz, Warren, Bird, and Ariano. So you know who I'm rooting for. I'm rooting for our custom dudes. I want Ward, I want Kidd, I want Mazza or KAJ. That's who we want. We want those guys. But it'll be interesting to see who wins that thing out. And obviously take your pick. I mean, think about it a little bit. Be prepared to take your pick, who you think is going to win it and win some channel points, possibly. No guarantees, but I'm thinking about awarding another custom player for Season 4's draft. I'm thinking about it, guys. And I don't know if I'm going to do it or not and jump in. Got to kind of move through this series as fast as I can. Try to get as many seasons as we can into this series. But, guys, leave a like on the stream if you haven't yet already. I will see you guys later on tonight for the All-Star break, Home Run Derby, and the actual game itself. And then we'll do a little trade deadline preview. Might work on some things as a community for that. And give me some time to process your trades and your votes. We're going to do this as a voting again as well. I'm going to make a Google form, present to you the options, present to you the trades. Got to be over 60%. 60% yeses, and the trade will pass. So it's got to be majority rules vote. But anyway, that's for later on tonight when I explain that. But yeah, man, we're gonna be we're almost done with the season. Truly, probably get some September gameplay after all that's said and done through trades. Kind of see where we're at as a league. Who's gonna make the postseason? Who's gonna make a run? What does the playoff picture look like? Right. So, guys, again, leave a like on the stream if you have not already, and I'll see you guys in the next one later on tonight. As always, thanks so much for watching, and peace.